Today's story is not a Bible story, it's about boots. It's a Waldorf story, so it's told in a particular way, and I wish I could give credit to somebody, but I don't know who wrote it. In a Waldorf story, we have to imagine what the faces look like. So Boots has crazy hair, and Boots has a great cape and a little knapsack, but you're going to have to imagine what his face looks like. The second thing about a Waldorf story is that scale doesn't really matter. So these two brothers, Peter and Paul, and Boots, could all live inside this little house. And presumably their father's tucked in there sleeping snugly. So in your mind, either make the house bigger or make the people smaller, but somehow it works because you have a wonderful imagination. And the last thing is that we open each story with a song. Mother of the fairy tale, take me by the hand with you. Sail me in your silver boat to the place where dreams come true. Once upon a time, there were 3 brothers. Peter, Paul, and the youngest brother, whose name was James, but everyone called him Boots. They lived with their father, the woodchopper, in a very small cabin, and times had become hard for this family. The woodchopper was so poor, he had not 2 nickels, one to rub against the other. Hard times at this household. An entirely different story was taking place at the other end of the kingdom, where the king lived in his beautiful castle with his beautiful daughter. He was unhappy, not because he didn't have anything, because really he had everything, except 2 things that the most common peasant had. Everyone in his kingdom had sunlight in their homes. The king had watched a mighty oak grow next to the castle, and as it grew, its shadow fell on the castle, so that there was never any sunlight inside the home. And when anyone tried to chop down this mighty oak, it just grew bigger. He couldn't solve this problem. The other dilemma he had was that the castle was sitting on living rock, so whenever anyone tried to dig into it, they couldn't dig down to get water. And of course the king wanted a water supply for his castle, a well or a river, some way to have water in his home so he didn't have to go off to a very far away river to carry it back every day. Things had gotten so bad that the king decided to announce a reward to anyone who could fell the mighty oak and dig a well through the living rock. He would give half of his kingdom, a magnificent gift. Well, word rolled across the kingdom and finally reached the woodcutter's little house, where the 3 boys heard this story and thought, maybe they should try. So they went to their father and said, do you think we could take off and try our hand for half of the kingdom? And the father, though he was reluctant to say goodbye to his son, said, yes. So off they went. We don't know whether they took their hound dog with them or not. You'll have to decide whether he accompanies them on this journey or not. But there is always a hound dog in the story. So Peter and Paul and Boots set off. And the first thing they ran into was a very mighty forest. It was deep and it was dark and the trees were close together. And they got about halfway through and the older boys thought, time for a nap. So down they went. And when it got quiet, Boots pricked up his ears and said, do you hear that? Chip chop, chip chop, chip chop, from way up above them. The boys said, oh, it's another woodcutter like our father taking down a tree. Boots said, I really wonder what it is. I think I must go up and find out for myself. And the boys said, oh, Boots, You, with your infernal wondering, you're always questioning, you're always wondering, and where has it ever gotten you? We'll stay down for the nap. You go on ahead. When Boots got up to the top of the forest, he saw the most remarkable thing. He saw a little axe, and it was working all by itself. Chip chop, goodness! Boots said, "Is that what you do? Hack and hew the whole day through?" And the little axe said, "Yes, I do, the whole day through. I'm hacking and I'm hewing and I'm waiting for you." Boots said, "Oh, little axe, I'm off on a big adventure. Would you like to come with me?" And the little axe said, "Yes." So Boots put it in his backpack. And down he went, down through the forest, down back to where his brothers were just getting up from their long afternoon nap. And they said, "So what was it, Boots? What was it that you saw?" And Boots said, "Oh, as you said, it was just an axe at work." They went on farther, and the next day they encountered some very rugged territory covered with rocks and boulders and what we call scree in this part of the country. And the boys thought, time for another nap before we go too far. So they went down for a nap, and when everything got quiet, Boots said, "Do you hear that sound of digging? Someone's digging up above." And the boy said, "Oh, somebody's digging something. Doesn't have anything to do with us." Boots said, "Oh, I just wonder what it is." And the boy said, "We'll take our nap. You go on ahead, Boots, but you shouldn't always be wondering. It's not getting you anywhere." Oh, Boots went on up anyway. Boots was a very good mountain climber, and it was very difficult terrain. But finally, after a lot of work, he made his way up to the top, where a little tiny shovel, dig and delve, all by itself. And Boots said, "My little shovel, is that what you do? You dig and delve the whole day through?" And the little shovel said, "Yes, I do, the whole day through. I'm digging and I'm delving and I'm waiting for you." Oh, Boots said, "I think that's quite remarkable. I'm on a very exciting journey. Little shovel, would you like to go with me?" And the little shovel said, "Yes." So he put it in his pack. And back he went. Clambering down was just as hard as getting up had been, but finally he reached the bottom again just as the boys were beginning to get up from their nap. They said, "What remarkable thing did you see this time, Boots?" And he said, "Oh, as you thought, it was just some digging going on." On they went. The two brothers in front, and Boots always behind. That night they rested by a stream, and when it got quiet, they could hear the sound of the stream trickling and running past their feet. And Boots said, "I just wonder where this river comes from." And the boy said, "Oh, always rivers come from high in the mountains. It comes from a spring, or perhaps it comes from melted snow." Boots said, "I think I have to find out. I just wonder what it is." And the boy said, "Oh, Boots, with your infernal wondering, you go on ahead, or we'll rest and make camp." Up he went. Up, up, up. And there he saw a little shell. "Trickle and run," it said to him. Boots said, "Goodness, little shell, is that what you do? All the day through you trickle and run?" The little shell said, "Yes, I do, the whole day through. I'm trickling and I'm running and I'm waiting for you." Boots said, "Oh, I think you're very wonderful, little shell, and I'm on a very exciting journey. Would you like to come with me?" And the little shell said, "Yes." So Boots took it and put it in his backpack with the axe and the shovel, and on he went. Back to the brothers. When they were ready to cross the stream, They went across, and the brothers said, "So, what was it? What wonderful thing did you see, Boots?" And Boots said, "Oh, as you thought, it was a simple source of the river, high above us." So on they went. And on this day, they finally reached the castle. Now, so many people had been trying to fell the mighty oak and dig through the living rock that the king had put a new rule on his reward. The reward would be the same, still half the kingdom, but for anyone who failed to accomplish the task, they would be banished to a deserted island far away. The king just wasn't getting his king job done, and the little princess wasn't very happy either. Well, in spite of the harsh penalty now, Peter thought he would try. And he went up to the mighty oak. After all, he was a woodcutter's son. He must have some talent at this job. But as he chopped away at it, the tree just got taller. So the king banished him off, and off he went to the deserted island all by himself. It was the next brother's turn, and he thought, even though his brother had been banished, he'd give it a try. So forward he went, and chopped, and chopped, and chopped, and the tree grew taller yet. So he was also banished off to the desert isle, where his brother was waiting for him. Now it was Boots' turn, and Boots strode forward confidently, and the little princess whispered something into the king's ear. And the king said, "Boots, for so I hear you're called. Boots, it's a difficult task, and neither of your brothers managed to accomplish it. Are you sure you want to do this? And by the way, Boots, the little princess has taken something of a shine to you." Boots thought about it, and the king said, "Well?" And Boots said, "Yes." So forward he went. All eyes were on him, and he took out the axe, and he said, "Hack and hew, hack and hew, hack and hew." And when he did, the mighty oak fell over, and sunshine flooded the palace. Oh, it was a beautiful sight, and the king was so happy, and so was the little daughter. Next, Boots strode over to the living rock that the castle was built on, and the princess went forward to get a little better look at what was going on. Boots took out of his pack the magic shovel and set it to work. "Dig and delve, dig and delve, dig and delve," he said. And sure enough, the little shovel went to work and dirt was flying. All of a sudden, there was a hole appearing in the living rock. He put the shovel aside and he grasped out of his backpack the magic shell, and he set it at the top of the hole in the ground, and he said, "Trickle and run, trickle and run." And the little shell started a stream of water so beautiful that everyone would want to see it, and so large that it would be enough water in the well for at least 100 days. Everyone in the kingdom was so delighted, and especially the little princess. Boots did indeed get half of the kingdom, and before long he also got the hand of the little daughter in marriage, so that they could live happily ever after. 2 others lived somewhat happily. In truth, Peter and Paul were happy to be set far away on a deserted island where they didn't have to hear someone every hour on the hour saying, "Isn't it wonderful how that Boots was always a-wondering?" That's the end. Mother of the fairy tale, take me by the hand with you. Sail me in your silver boat to the land where dreams come true.